Hey everyone, this is Vritvi Sawant and welcome to my channel. After a successful run of audio podcast for Vritvi Talks, this video marks the first episode of Vritvi Talks, the Ambition Series Guest Podcast. Our first guest for Vritvi Talks Podcast, the Ambition Series, is a multi-talented person who lives right here in Mumbai, but who aims to conquer the world with a set of some amazing talents. He is a 2 times world record holder for doing something as unique as making life-size portraits with the help of Rubik cubes. Mechanical engineer by education, he does beatboxing, writes songs, is a magician, is also recognized as a mimicry artist, and lastly, he is one of the top 3 winners of MTV Lockdown Stars India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Selwyn Santmajor.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Vritvi, and thank you for inviting me to this episode. I'm pretty much excited and looking forward to this.
What's with so much of ambition, Selwyn? Trust me, it's all our pleasure. With so much of ambition, how so many talents, and it's clearly seen that you want to conquer the world, you want to be all around. So how are you coping up with it, or how are you handling so much of ambition and dreams?
I mean, first of all, I think that's too kind for you to introduce me as somebody so talented. But then for me, I'm somebody who likes to keep learning every single day. When it comes to ambition, for me, I've always been very clear about a few things. One of them has been my discipline and my mentality. For me, ambition is something that, I know for a matter of fact that when I go to sleep, I'm satisfied with the work that I've done throughout the day. And I look forward to the next day. So as soon as I get up the next day, I know, okay, so this is going to be a great day because there are a few things that I've planned to do throughout this day. And at the end of the day, I just think about it again, thinking, okay, we're going to repeat this in a better way. My aim right from, being a kid has been very much simple. My mentality has always been to try and be good at everything, even though, I did not really think of myself learning so many things that I know today. But then growing up as a kid, I always wanted, all these kids have this mentality wherein they want to be first when they, in everything that they do. Yeah. A lot of kids want to be first in studying, first in sports, first in drawing, first in singing, dancing. So and even a lot of parents. I mean, I was good at studies. I think in 10th, I finished 3rd in my school, which is something I still regret because my parents were not very happy about it. But then, yes, I was pretty good in studies. I was always considered, it was something that came to me from within. It was not my parents' pressure or something. I just wanted to be good at studies. I wanted to be that first ranker. But then some things did not turn out my way and a lot of things kept changing as I grew up. But yes, mentality plays a big part. And there are some things that I learned the easy way, some things that I learned very, in a very hard way. But whatever happened, it helped me today. Yeah.
Okay. So something, out of that tough kind of phase, which you, kind of took to learning you and, your achievements, I'm sure you have taken it very positively. So would you like to share any of that tough phase?
I think just before I share about it, I'm just going to tell everyone who's watching a small story about my ambition so that they actually figure out where we are heading into. There would be a lot of people who may not know me. I am not very famous or anything like that, and there is no reason to know me. But then I remember in the year 2000, when I shifted to Airoli, Navi Mumbai, I shifted to this new school, and nobody out there knew me. The school that I came from, I was always the first ranker there. And this school, it was like a pretty new thing. I was in 6th standard when I joined in there. And there was this one thing in class that was said, when I grow up, one thing I don't want to be is, and fill in the blank. And the answers that were expected were other children were writing, I don't want to be a murderer, I don't want to be a thief, I don't want to be a bad person. But what I wrote was, I don't want to be second. And everybody got pissed off, thinking that I'm actually fooling around in class. And I was like, no, I'm very, very, very serious. When I grow up, I don't want to be second. It's as simple as that. And this was before even the first ever unit test could be done. So nobody actually knew that, okay, I'm going to try and be the first ranker here or something like that.
Yeah.
And my parents were called just because of this reason. And it was a big shock for everyone. And I was trying to explain to people that this is how I am. It's not something that you should be scared of or you should be worried about. It's just that I want to be good at what I'm doing. And that was a phase wherein I was not very humble or something like that, which has comparatively changed now.
You kind of became a rebel because you were being stopped or you have been
Yes, very much.
sabotaged by being ambitious?
Very much, like it was not very, what do you call it, as common. So to
Yeah,
find
yeah, and
kids
it
who
was
were,
not positively
like,
taken. Yeah,
not at all, because I mean, I do think it happens even today, wherein you see somebody who's trying to do good and who's trying to be good at everything. You at a point feel you need to stop. You cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot do everything.
Yeah.
But then when
Yeah.
that person actually does it, you do not know how to respond. And this is where one of the tough phases of my life comes in, wherein when you have to learn many things and when you have an ambition, you are going to face a lot of difficulties when it comes to explaining your parents, when it comes to
Yeah.
convincing the people that you know.
Specifically parents.
Very much, because like I'm not trying to offend anybody who's watching, or I'm not trying to be mean to somebody, but a lot of parents, for their own reasons, would not want their kids to try something unconventional, something out of the box. They would
True.
want them to be happy with a very comfortable life, get a job,
Yeah.
earn well, spend time with your family, go out for
Get
vacations,
married.
get married. And then,
Yeah.
this is their definition of success, which for me was not the one. And first of all, to convince my parents that I am not
It took
somebody
real
who's going to
long.
do a 9 to 5. Yeah, it took me a lot of time, and that affected me a lot, because I'm just going to use an example. Okay, I'm going to give you all 2 examples. The first example is going to be of my music. So when I started with singing, like as a kid, I could not sing. I was not a good singer or something like that. So normally what happens is, if you're good at something as a kid, your parents at least have that 1% belief in you, saying
Yeah.
this kid may do something better. But now I was somebody who started singing at the age of 21, that too in the church, and I was not really a great singer or something like that. One fine day, because of my attitude of making people happy and trying to make everybody smile, so what I used to do was, I used to always play the guitar, for people who were not very well to do, like housekeeping staff,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like the canteen staff, or
Yeah.
the security, who would not
Yeah.
have somebody else entertain them. So I would be like, I'm learning something new. Would you want to listen to it? And they would appreciate it, because nobody else was going to do it for them.
Wow.
And for them, whatever they like,
So you kind of
even though I
created
was
your
not.
own, audience, own set of audience that time that you have created, and that's a very good.
Very much, very much.
Yeah.
And for me, my always the aim was, even today, I will never back down from, like, I perform at some decent shows, I perform at some good shows, and I perform at some, like, normal shows as well. But anytime somebody comes to me, like, I can actually figure out that person, maybe, let's say, I go for a corporate gig, and there are these housekeeping staff and all who are trying to watch it from the sides. I would always make sure that I will at least I will talk to their manager and tell them, like, these guys were not able to listen to what we were doing. Before I go, I can just do a private session for them just before, I go, so that, like, 5 minutes at least, they'll always remember it, that there was somebody who did something with them. And that has been something always about me. Now, the problem was, when I started, my parents were not very convinced that this is going to be something that is going to help me. Because first thing was, I told them, I'm not interested in playback. All I'm interested in is doing live shows, traveling throughout India and making people happy, and at the same time earning from it. So that required a lot of changes. First thing was with regards to my lifestyle, because if you are doing an event, it's going to end up late in the night. And by the time things are done, you are going to come home late. Income is not fixed. Every show may pay you, and
Makes
you never know
different,
when your show.
different offers.
Big time. And you don't even know if you're always going to get those shows. So it was very difficult for me to convince them, for which I had to actually, almost work around 14 to 15 hours every day, including my business and including the gigs that I did, which actually impacted my health very bad, because, I was not sleeping properly. I was not eating my meals on time. But then I always knew, like, I was just reading this quote the other day: if you want to shine as bright as the sun, you have to burn as much as it's done, like,
True.
And that's something that I've always felt, like, success is never enjoyable if it comes easy. You have to work hard for it. So when I look back at it today, and when I think, okay, life would have been so boring if I would have got it easy. Like, for example, my parents would have said, yeah, you want to become a singer, go and become a singer, no problem.
No, true, absolutely.
I
Because
would have not had that.
People who work like 9 to 5, I look
Yeah.
at them today, or maybe years ago also. I still look at them like, God, they live such a boring life. I mean, the set pattern every day. And today, when we look at people like you, or other great achievers, or for me also, that for that matter, it has been like roller coaster. And today, everything is good.
Very much. I mean, I would just like to say, like, I'm sure Vritvi did not mean to offend anybody who does a 9 to 5 job. There are a lot of people who enjoy doing that And you must be thinking, why are people like you and me doing jobs like, or
So much.
business like these? Yeah, that is not needed at all. Like, a lot of people have this mentality wherein they say all you need is 2 times food, like, food, a meal and a shelter and all these things. But that is fair enough, that, it comes down to mentality. And then for me to balance all these things was very tough. And then one of the worst things that happened to me was a vocal cord swelling, which unfortunately, like, destroyed a lot of my power while singing, while talking, and while singing, the range, etc. And it was very difficult for me to then go back and do the same gigs again, because there were a lot of people who were used to listening to me in a different style. And as soon as my style changed, a lot of people did not really accept it that well, which was fair enough, because if you are expecting a singer to sing a song, like, for example, if you're expecting a singer to sing a high range song, and that singer comes out and he's not able to even sing half of it, or is cracking while singing it, the audience does not know what's happening inside. Like, the job of the artist is to make sure that the artist prepares accordingly. And for me, like, I think those 3 to 6 months were very tough. I was not really getting a lot of shows. The shows that I was getting, I was not getting great response. And I had to work out a lot of different things. And one of the main things that I learned back then was upgrading is very much important in every field. You may know a lot of songs, but if you don't upgrade from time to time, you are going to suffer. And I started upgrading. I started changing some things into my own style. And I thought, what I can do is, if I'm not able to hit a higher range, maybe I change the style of the song completely. And I present it as a different kind of song to people. And I present it in such a way, saying that when it comes to a very high range song, you normally listen to everybody singing it high. But what if this was a song with a lot of feel, which was slowed down, or which was, done something else, and people enjoyed the idea, appreciated the idea that there's something different that's happening. And for me, it was very difficult with regards to my mental health, because I'm not somebody who's affected by somebody praising me, it doesn't really change a lot of things. But it does feel bad when you see people are not even looking at you while you are trying to perform. Well, people are yawning, or people are just not interested, because they feel somebody else could have done something better. And it was a very difficult time, until I realized that as long as I am giving my 100%, it doesn't really matter, because it is them who are at loss if they don't want to listen to it. And slowly and steadily, I started upgrading, and I started giving my 100%, and I was happy that I am doing my best. And as they say, hard work always pays off. I went ahead, I tried to do shows, I got good response. I still have that vocal cord swelling, I cannot hit a lot of ranges. It has dropped considerably. There was this one time wherein I was very proud about the range that I had. And this was one of the things that I always tell people, one of the main reasons I am humble is because I know what I've lost, and I know what I can lose. Nothing is going to last forever. And it is always good to be humble about things that you have, about the things that you have. And if somebody does not have it, it doesn't mean that they are inferior to you or something like that. Everybody is same. It just depends on the efforts and everything that you take. And then, I started doing shows. Now, in the unplugged industry, I'm considered to be one of the most entertaining artists. People, are very crazy when it comes to trying to listen to me. And they specifically tell me that they want me to include my sense of humor, my interactive skills with the music that I do. And there are a lot of gigs that we get only because of this factor. People make sure that this factor is included in the gigs that I do. And one of the achievements that was almost impossible for me in 2016-17, considering the tough phase with regards to my parents, with regards to my other things that I was doing, and the vocal cord swelling, was to compete at any event which has singers and to win it. And then the MTV Lockdown Stars Top 3 changed everything. For me to be able to be the only singer musician amongst the top 3, the other 2 were dancers and a football freestylist, was a huge achievement, considering that there were more than 20,000 singers throughout India, a lot of verified singers, a lot of singers with more than 100,000 followers who had also participated. And to actually go ahead and do it without any voting, without any popularity contest, or just based on my act, was something very unique. And that was something that I could feel, okay, now is when I can inspire people. If I can do it, a lot of people can do it. And this was one about my singing phase. And I think one of my journeys which was covered recently was with regards to my artwork. When you introduced me, I'm sure a lot of people did remember the Rubik's Cube artwork thing. Now, I'll be very honest with you. When I started with art, I will not shy to say this, I was God gifted. I'm not even trying to take any extra credits, but I was God gifted when it came to drawing everything apart from portraits. Everything. As a kid, I think I saw my brother sketching and all these things. I saw a lot of people sketching in school.
Yeah.
I would just take the pencil and a paper, whatever is in front of me, scenery, a room, or a car, or anything. I would draw it exactly the way it is. Like, I could just sit anywhere and I can draw it. I had no training. I had nobody to help me. It was just
See, but
in me.
there is one thing that, firstly, of your journey till MTV Lockdown Stars, right? There is a saying that, whenever you feel that everything that you had is lost, just give like one last push and, the door might open.
Very
So
true.
that is what very much happened with you also. And I also believe in that same thing.
Very
And
true. Very
secondly,
true.
when it came to your art, एक होता है कि आप naturally gifted होते हो, आप talented होते हो, but एक होता है कि आप उस talent के साथ कर क्या रहे हो.
Exactly.
For example, you would have gone ahead and become a very random artist, which a lot of people are actually there in the industry, right? Normal paintings, banana, caricatures, banana, designing, karna, and all that, right? So they have different streams that they expand into, right? But you chose something so unique, and I cannot say chose. Maybe it struck to your mind, or maybe that is something which you attracted or you got attracted to, right? And so that is one thing which really I liked about what we saw or we read about you also. Getting from singing to getting into the Rubik cubes, and why only Rubik cubes?
So for me, I mean, I'll be very honest. I never wanted to be somebody who was good at one skill. And again, I don't want to be something that I'm very proud about a lot of things. But, there was this one saying, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
And I always, when I used to listen to this in school, I always used to tell people, a lot of people, including me, are going to prove this wrong when they grow up.
True.
Everybody can be a jack of every trade and a master of every trade as well. That's not really a problem. It just depends on how you deal with things. I have seen a lot of people who are good at multiple things. And when I say they're good at it, what I mean is if they go for a competition, they are serious competition. There are a lot of people who do only one thing. Like, for example, I'm just going to give a very random example, no offense to anyone. I've seen a lot of people who are good at only singing. And I've seen a lot of people who are good at singing, who are good at drawing, who are good at sports. But when they go for a singing competition, they can actually create that aura that, they can win that competition.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who can claim that they are good singers. But when they go on stage, when it's a competition, they're not going to win it. And for me, I do not categorize myself. If I feel, okay, I can go on stage for any of the things that I do, that's the only time I feel, okay, I can tell people that this is what I do. This is what I do.
See, maybe that is because that is what is your ambition. Your ambition is to win. It can be winning people's hearts, or it can be winning the prize, or it can be anything. Right, but categorically, people who are very much into their comfort zones, they might be very good there, right? Maybe that is not their ambition to go out there and perform. That is how maybe that is what happened with MTV Lockdown Stars also, right? Like you said, like there were so many great singers out there, right? But then maybe they're very good in their own comfort zone, very good actually. But when it comes to winning, maybe that's not their ambition. But that doesn't, that doesn't make you a little lesser or them a little greater or vice versa. Anyhow, right? Yeah. So that is what we have been trying to say. That.
True. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. Nobody should feel offended.
Yeah. So whatever you have, whatever your ambition is, you should be true to it. आपने बोला कि मुझे जीतना है, तो you are so true to yourself, and that is what is very important today's date.
This was one of my main reasons for me to try and learn different things, because once I started, I enjoyed the process so much. For example, mimicry was something that was once again God gifted to me. I could imitate people right from the time I could talk. Drawing was something apart from portraits. I could just draw anything, but then I never really took it seriously, thinking, this is not something that's going to help me somewhere in the future or something like that. And back in the day, we did not really have a lot of crazy drawing competitions or something. There was this one drawing competition that I went to. I won it, and I mean, I was thinking, okay, that's about it. But then growing up, when I started learning different things, I also started noticing that people were evolving, and your respect actually started changing based on what you do, what all you've achieved,
what all
you've learned. So I always started feeling, I was already a mechanical engineer by the time I started learning my singing or something like that myself. I'm a self-taught person with regards to everything that I know today. And one of the main reasons I always feel is because I was very active in the church, I saw a lot of people who could sing well, who could, play the guitar well. And I always thought, okay, wow, maybe one day I should try and do this too. And that's one thing about me from a very young age. I was always motivated when I saw somebody who was very talented or who was very different or who was somebody who was trying to do something that I could not think of. And I would always make sure that this person knows about it. He or she would always know from me that I am looking up to them. A lot of people took it very positively. A lot of people did not, thinking that, you can look up to me, but don't try to be like me. A lot of people were like, look up to me, be better than me. And it was all a part of the journey. And then I was like, I just wanted to shift my focus to each and everything. And it was just inside me that every year I want to learn something different. Or if I'm not learning a new skill, I want to upgrade on these existing skills that I have.
True.
Like, I don't want people who know me from 2014 to know me in 2022 thinking, oh, this guy was a singer back then.
This.
Then,
Yeah.
Now it's like an added thing in the CV, or it's just surprise people out of nowhere. And it was very clear for me that I like doing unconventional things because I like to see unconventional things. I like it when I see something out of the box, when I see people do something that I can only dream of. And then I think, if these guys can dream of it and do it, I can dream of it and do it too. If I don't do it, I can at least give my 100% to try it. If I cannot achieve it, it's okay. At least I tried my best. And that's how it started. I have done a lot of things which I feel happy about. I have not succeeded at everything, but I'm just happy that I've given my 100% whenever I tried something.
Because because that was your purpose of life,
Right.
See, I personally believe, and that is what I've written in my book also, right? So that the purpose of people's life can either be material wealth, or either can be the purpose of their life, which is to be happy themselves and give out happiness, right? So there are two different things, right? So purpose of my life today can be both, because I know that I have attained that kind of balance within my head and around me today, right? But there was also a phase, obviously everybody has their own reasons, where I was also like, no, if material wealth is something which is a parameter for people to recognize you as this is an achiever, this is a successful person, then I'll rather go behind that. Right. So same, I think you have also, gone through that kind of a journey where you were like, okay, people look at you after a particular achievement. Right. But today, like, have you like actually found the purpose of your life? Or are you also doing it all? Or when you started for material wealth or recognition, or, how is it?
So one good thing was I never started or did things for material wealth or recognition. My aim was very clear from the start that I want to inspire people that, you can be good at what you're doing. You can make it your profession without taking any formal training. That's there. And without having to, expend a lot on expensive tools or expensive courses. Like, as long as you have it inside you, you can do it. So my idea, every year is to try and do shows throughout the world someday, if possible. And one step at a time. Obviously, I started from Navi Mumbai, I went to Mumbai, I then went throughout India, and just keep doing it. You go meet people who would like to learn something new, try to explain to them based on how you can change your lifestyle or you can change your mindset. And then even if I can inspire one person with these shows, I think I'll be very happy. And I am somebody, if money and fame was the only thing that I was looking for, I have a feeling by God's grace, my dad actually did a lot for my family. And even my other family members have actually done a lot for me. When they realized that this guy wants to do something which is different, they started supporting me. And I could have achieved a lot of things with money as well, but I still feel I will be famous someday. But that day is going to be when I feel, okay, I've learned a lot and I don't think I have to learn anything new. And even today, before this thing started, I was waiting for 10 minutes here. I mean, I have this thing wherein I reach everything a little early. So when we discussed a particular time, I was here for 10 minutes and I realized that you're not here and you will be here on the specific time. I was practicing something for those 10 minutes. I was like, rather than just sitting and doing nothing, I would just practice a skill that I'm working on, for this thing. And I try to take this one step at a time. And that's how it works with me, I just
that is a problem with I think all ambitious people. They just don't like to waste even the slightest of a second. They just want to do continuously something or the other, like complete workaholics. Even I'm like that. So.
True. And I'm going to tell you a very boring thing, which a lot of people find boring. I don't like to go for vacations because I enjoy my routine much more. The last time I went for a vacation, which was early in June, my family, after 1.5 days, told me, from next time, we are not taking you anywhere with us because you do not even enjoy. You are just here sitting and complaining that you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you have to wake up at this time, eat at this time. And I was like, you have to understand that, you cannot keep me in a room or you cannot make me go out seeing sights and expect me to be like, wow, I'm very happy. That is not a type of person that I am. In fact, the best thing was I took a Rubik's Cube with me And I actually attempted some world records while I was on that vacation. And my family was pissed off, saying, "You are not here to do all these things. You are here to spend time with your family." And I was trying to explain to them, like, I enjoy my routine more. People take vacations because they are bored of their daily lifestyle. I am not. And it's a very weird thing, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
I was doing artwork, and when I started, I'm going to tell you another very crazy story. Most of the talents that I've learned are because of a crazy story. So I had joined this office, so I had this one time wherein I did a very bad thing, wherein I was going to offices and then staying there for 2-3 months and then leaving the office just so that I could earn money and I could save for my tattoos. This was a phase wherein nobody believed in me. And the only thing people would have believed in me would have been if I had at least some money to do something on my own. And I thought this was going to be an easy way out. So I used to go to these offices, and there's this one guy who was very good at sketching. I'm not going to say he was the best, but he was very good at sketching. Now, he was like, he could get a lot of things right, but the portrait did not have the best eyes, there was some fault in the portrait. And I'm somebody who is never going to give anybody a negative feedback. I always believe in positive feedback. Like, for example, if I see you draw something, there are things that I don't like about it. I'm not going to tell you about that first. I'm going to tell you, I like the way you've done the hair. I like the way you've done the nose. I like the way you've done the mouth, the ears and all. But I think you can be even better if you make the eyes, a little better, like do this. So the person always feels, okay, this person is not trying to point out a mistake. He's trying to tell me how I can be a better person with regards to my dress. And that's something I also prefer people telling me that way. But this guy was not really happy about it. And he was like, you know what? Why don't you draw something and show me before giving me feedback? Like he had that attitude.
He got
I was like, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And what happened was, so these guys went down for a smoke break and I did not smoke. So I was like, I'll just sit in the room. And it was a 30 minutes break. And by the time these guys came up, I had actually drawn a Heath Ledger portrait, which was out of nowhere. Like, I did not even know. I had never practiced it or something. I just saw my phone's wallpaper and I was like, let me just try and draw it. And when these guys came back, they were like, there's no way you did this. And I was like, see, this is the company book. There is no way anybody else can do it. I just did it here. And then what happened was, this was again the phase where I was, trying to show off that, okay, you know what? Now I'll show you. I can draw. And I started drawing something once every 2-3 days. But then I was not very good, but I could draw. Like, I realized, okay, I could draw and I can get better. There was this one time wherein people made fun of me very badly because, again, I was somebody who was trying to do multiple things. And at a young age, you like to show people that I'm good at this, I'm good at that.
Sure.
And not everybody appreciates that. Exactly. I mean, I do regret about it, but okay. Like, so there's this one time, one time I was called on stage by these people, one of the offices that I was working at. And I was hoping that they're going to appreciate me for, trying to sing, trying to do this, trying to do that. But then they looked at one of my sketch and they said, "Arey, agar ye Virat Kohli hai, to main David Beckham." Like, agar ye David Beckham hai, to main like Johnny Depp or something like that. And there were hundreds of people laughing at my face. And as a 23-year-old, I was just feeling okay. I mean, it was not really a good thing because, and that time, like a lot of people have this phase wherein they feel, okay, whatever you do, people are going to like you or this, that, and all. And this was something I was not used to. I went back home. I was very devastated. Like, I was just thinking, what just happened today? People laughing. And that is one thing that I can never forget. Like, like hundreds of people laughing at you for the wrong reasons. When you think you're good at something or you're decent at something, and people are laughing at you for even attempting something. I was very this. But that day I went back home and I was like, you know what? I have two options. Either stop doing this and focus on the other things, or do something better than this. And I was like, let me choose option 2. And I made a sketch that day. And next day I went again. And whoever was coming to me and saying, "Bhai, tera to kal mazak ud gaya," and I was like, yaar, but I tried this. You want to look at this? And a lot of people were like, "Wow, this is something crazy. Did you do it?" And then a lot of people started respecting me for, taking this in a very different way and trying and not giving up.
Wow.
And with time I realized, upgrading, as I was saying, there was this one time in 2016-17 when I realized you have to upgrade in life. You cannot be stuck at that same thing. I cannot be making pencil portraits forever, or I cannot be making this forever. Like, if I have time, if I think I have the talent, I can go ahead and do something more. In 2019, late 2019, of course, I was not going through a great time with regards to a girl that I liked, and I had to divert my mind somewhere. And I was like, I am just going to try and, maybe draw something that takes a lot of my time. So I made my first ever color portrait, which took me a little time. And the end result made me very happy. And I was like, my 3-4 hours were worth it. And then I thought, I'll try and explore different art styles. Social media was picking up as well. And during the lockdown, I think I took content creation seriously. And after MTV Lockdown Stars Top 3, I was like, you know what? Now is the time to start. I cannot think that, okay, this is what I've achieved. This is what I'm going to write in my bio and forget it. No, I have to upgrade and keep upgrading. I started multiple art styles. I saw a lot of artists on Instagram, on Facebook.
But I should also say that, breakups, they really help push you ahead with your talents or and they give you a mirror to understand that who you really are or what you're wasted time on. What
true.
I feel.
No, makes sense. But then for me, it was not a breakup. The girl never said yes. But let's not talk about that.
No problem.
Before I go back to that zone. No. So then I started upgrading one by one, And what happens is, like, for example, now you are writing a book. Okay. So let's say you are good at, writing or something like that. So when people read what others have written, they have this tendency to send it to you. That just reminded me of you. There are a lot of people who would like to do that. It's not because they want to compare you, but they appreciate you and they feel, okay, this is something that you can also do.
Yeah.
And the way I send your post to others, I'm sending this post to you. And I saw a lot of different people showing all their creativity on the internet. Yeah. I was like, wow, there is so much to learn, especially when it comes only to art. And I started upgrading one by one step at a time. I was able to solve the Rubik's Cube luckily because of some friends who were again solving it. And it was again a very crazy story at one of the organizations wherein I just wanted to do it. And it also involves another girl, like every other story of mine has. But okay. And then what happened was during the lockdown, there was this one thing wherein I saw some artists who were actually making portraits with
maybe you need inspiration.
Just going to use them as inspirations. So even though that time my idea was not inspiration, my idea was to make an impression in front of them. But still, I was very happy. So basically what happened was during the lockdown, I saw a lot of creative artists, a lot of unique artists showing creativity throughout the internet. And I was like, there is so much to learn, especially when it comes only to art. And since it was a lockdown, I had nothing else to do. There were no shows, nothing going on. I was trapped inside my house. I was like, let me make the most of this time. I've already done that MTV Lockdown Stars Top 3. Now it's time to upgrade and be a better version, And that's when I picked up a lot of different art forms. I saw different artists throughout the world doing crazy things. And few of them, of course, were doing Rubik's Cube portraits. And I thought someday I want to do this. The time I figured out how to do this, because I was able to solve Rubik's Cubes as well, I was like, now I have to do something more unique with Rubik's Cube. So now I think out of the 100 artists that are there in the world, we have around 10 or something in India. And out of them, I am trying to be something very, very, very unique. I think I'm the most latest artist when it comes to being a Rubik's Cube artist here. But then my consistency is something, once again, no offense to the others. I'm very sure that they have their own reasons to make number of portraits that they make in a day or in a month or something. But for me, I like to keep upgrading. I like to keep trying new things, experimenting with this. And I try to create many unique artworks. And that's what I want to do.
So are you saying that lockdown actually worked for you in terms of, upgrading your skills or your talent, and you didn't let all the negativity around hamper you?
Absolutely. I have to be brutally honest. Had it not been the lockdown, I would have not done Rubik's Cube portraits for sure. And two, I would have not learned a lot of these things that I know today. Plus, I think my Instagram blew up only because it was the lockdown. Had it not been the lockdown, it would have, I would have still been doing, I would have done a lot of decent things, but then it would have not been as crazy as they are today. Because of the lockdown, I got a lot of free time. And as I was saying, when I see people who are doing better, who do something creative or unique, I feel motivated, and that's what worked in my favor. Before that, I was not somebody who would spend a lot of time on Instagram or Facebook or social media because I had a lot of things to do regardless of these things. And it just worked in my favor. And I just knew that, I have to make the most of this because it's going to take a lot of time for things to be back to normal. And rather than me thinking about it, I would rather work on it. And that's how it worked.
So that also brings me to say that maybe that happened to you because you were mentally strong enough, since your upbringing from childhood till now, people who get into multiple talents and who don't let the criticism or the negativity affect them so much tend to be mentally strong. And, that kind of mindset actually comes from there.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's one of the things. And I think I should be very honest and say that, one of the bigger credits also goes to my family because, a lot of people did not have food on their table during the lockdown, but my family was, we were grateful that we had proper meals. We were able to help other people. And that was one of the things that I did not have to think of in the back of my head because I knew a lot of people who were struggling because they were not able to their first focus was to earn money and not to maybe learn something. And that was one thing that I'll always be grateful for, that my family had done enough for me. And I had also done something decent for myself that, we did not have to worry about it. But regardless, the mentality does work. And they say whatever happens, happens for the good.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, the last 2 years, the upgrade that I've got personally, I'm very happy, and it motivates me more to, now when I look back at my stuff from 2020, I feel I was
Yeah.
so bad. But then that's how it's supposed to be. Like, that's how an
Yeah.
upgrade is supposed to happen. Maybe 1 year
That's
later,
how
we look
life
back
is
at things.
supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be very honest with you now. At this point, I've made around 45, 50 Rubik's Cube artworks. And when I look back at my
Wow.
first 2, 3 artworks, I'm like, what did I even do? Like, what did I even make? And people were like, wow, what have you made? And they still feel that way,
Yeah.
but I don't. And that's how
Yeah.
it's going to be. And I'll be very happy as long as, I keep feeling this way and I keep upgrading.
Yeah, that's great. So, आपकी बातों से तो definitely ऐसे लग रहा है that now you have attained that kind of a balance, right? You are not either on the ambitious side completely, or you're not like being there and neglecting your family and everything, because you have been mentioning your family quite a lot. So, do you have anything to say about that kind of phase where you were just working and you wanted to prove a point to your family, to your parents, especially to your parents? Because I also come from that kind of scenario where I had to prove a point to my parents for a very long time, and it took me real long to convince them to to at least see or notice my talents that I had. Because but back then क्योंकि इतना exposure नहीं हुआ करता था about say writing or about public speaking for that matter, or about YouTube or about content creation, तभी उतना नहीं होता था 8-9 years ago from today.
Right.
But now they look at me as like okay, great, now तो मतलब आप कुछ भी करो, they are happy with it.
Yeah.
It's like that. But that phase actually teaches you also a lot, but it also takes you a little away from your family, right? If correct me if
True.
I'm wrong, if that happened
No,
with you.
absolutely.
So from there till here to attaining balance, how has it been for you on a personal level?
Yeah, I think on a personal level, one of the things that I missed out from the start was not giving enough time to my family. And there was this one phase, as I was telling you, I was working for 14 to 15 hours because I had to be at the business. I had to try and live for my passion, and I had to somehow try and give time to my friends and other people as well. And in this time, I realized that there were times where I would only see my mom like twice in a day. One is when I woke up, and the second is when I was coming back home if she was awake, and that was the only time. Like and similarly was with my dad. Like I was not giving them enough time because I was not spending time at home. And in my head I'm thinking, मैं किसके लिए कर रहा हूँ? Like I'm doing it for them and for myself both, right? So why should I be like worry about it? Like you are the one who have chosen me to do this. You're the one who's telling me to do this, and I want to do my work because that's something that I want to do. I don't want to sacrifice this time for anybody else. But then I realized, my dad's health was not at his best, and like there were a lot of times wherein my mom was very lonely, thinking, there's nobody for me to talk to, and my brother stays abroad, so she was alone out here. My dad was not well. And I realized life is not just about like just hustling or just keep working hard. Like there has to be a balance. You can still keep hustling, you can keep working hard, but as long as you have your family in check, like or even if you're not able to communicate with them, I realized there were days wherein I had to travel outside Mumbai, and I would be outside like for a few days. And that time there was, I think we all have this phase wherein you get annoyed when your parents keep asking, what are you doing? Did you reach here? Did you do this? And you're like, I'm not a small kid for you to keep asking me. But when I realized, the reason they ask me is because of the fear that they have of like, maybe not seeing me again, or maybe, of something wrong happening to me. And then I started like, my own self, like I started updating them based on, okay, I reached this place and this is what I'm doing right now. I'm planning to eat at this time. I'm planning to sleep at this time. I'll wake up at this time, so that they will not be worried about me. Like, and I actually figured out that it actually makes the day better. I'm doing it for a long time now. Every time I used to see my parents, change their DP on WhatsApp or like do something, I would always make it a point that they know that I've noticed it. And I mean, my dad is not with me anymore. Like, I lost him last year. But I mean, I think especially when it came to his health, I realized a lot of things that, I mean, as I was saying, I learned few things the hard way that I should have maybe given him a little more time when he needed me. But some things, you learn in life the hard way, and I'm just trying to make up for it.
I mean, your story is very, very similar to what my book's character also goes through. Like he has to prove a point, and he's very ambitious. And since you visit the church, you might correlate with this, that we call it a devil's influence to be all around, and to be on top, and to be attracted to this gleaming beauty of stardom and fame and material wealth for that matter.
True.
But what happens is, in this phase, be it to be proving a point, or be it to be ambitious by your own, but in this phase you actually tend to lose out on a lot of important things, important moments. And अगर ये जरूरी है तो एक रिलेशनशिप्स और फैमिली का एक पार्ट जो है वो भी जरूरी है.
Very much.
Right. Yeah. So
Very much.
that is the message. But I want to ask you that is there a message from your own journey that you would like to give out to the youth? There is no such thing like magic and miracle ऐसा suddenly नहीं होते हैं, right? We have
True.
our own journeys, right? So you being young and achieved so much. So would you like to give some piece of advice to the youngsters or to any millennial who is watching this? Uh, what is more important, or is there anything that you would like to bring light to on what you're seeing around in today's youth according to you?
Yeah. I think first of all, when it comes to, if I'm talking especially to youngsters who are influenced by social media or who are influenced by the things that they see, realize that good things take a lot of time. And if you've heard this podcast on the start, please remember, that when you have to shine as bright as the sun, you have to burn as well.
Burn.
And things are not going to come in easy. There can be somebody who can be very lucky. There can be somebody who can be blessed. But believe me, you have to work hard for your dream and you have to fight for it. And I'm not just talking about if it's for your passion or if it's for some unconventional thing. It can be for your studies. It can be for your job. It can be for your business. It can be for your lifestyle that you are living. You just have to make sure. This is something that I tell everybody, that you are the lead actor in your own story. You can direct it. You can edit it. You can write for it. You can decide when to start, when to stop, when to take a break. It's up to you to do it. Because if you let others do it for you, you are always going to let your happiness be in their hands, and maybe in that process you are going to be a part. You are going to be a part of their story instead of doing something for your own self. And there is this one thing that I always believe in, hard work always pays off. You may not be the most famous person, you may not be the most wealthiest person, but if you work hard for something, you are going to make sure that you are going to get it back someday or the other. Just keep working hard, it will pay off. Be patient, have faith, believe in yourself, and do not doubt yourself when somebody else tells you. Always accept criticism in the right way. Just make sure that you know where you stand. I'm just going to give you an example of Lionel Messi. That is something that is one of the person that I look up to a lot. There's this one thing, a lot of his competitors keep telling people that they are the best, that they are this, they are that. But Messi was once asked, why don't you tell people that you're the best? And he said, I know how good I am and I know what I can do when I'm on the field. I don't have to talk about it. My main thing is my team wins, and I do as much as I can for my team without telling everyone that I am the best or something. That's what you have to be about yourself. You need to know where you need to improve, where you need to work on, and how good you are and what level you are at. And I think, whatever you're trying to achieve in life, you will get there for sure.
True.
As they say, there is nothing magical. The magic is inside you. As they have a quote, beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. Magic lies in the hands of the person who's doing it. But regardless, magic, you can create magic if you are obsessed with something. You can create magic if you're passionate about something. And that's what I always feel. You can just make people smile with your magic, with your personality, with your, character. And that's how it should be.
True. Well, thank you so much, Selwyn. It was great talking to you. And I hope with your story, with your ambitious story for that matter, we could inspire a lot of people out there, whoever is watching or listening to this. Yeah.
Likewise, Vritvi. And I think your book is something fantastic as well when it comes to ambition. I am very glad that the character that you have, has some similar characteristics, or should I say, I am very glad that I have similar characteristics to the character. And to see a book on ambition is something that makes me really excited. And for everyone who's watching and listening, believe me, I think you all should take a look at the book as well. If this helped you feel a little better with regards to some motivation, some inspiration, or it made your day better by listening to my story, I think me and Vritvi have had our, our mission completed.
Yeah.
And just make sure that you go ahead and, read about this book as well, because it will certainly increase your motivation and your ambitions to the next level.
True. Well, thank you so much for saying that too. Thank you, Selwyn. Bye.
You're welcome, and it was great.
Oh wait, have you subscribed to my channel yet? Subscribe now.